So it's finally time to wrap this thing up because it's been going on way too long, and I really needed this desk space back for other projects. In fact, I don't even have the IBM 5150 on display over here right now because there just wasn't any room. So we're going to go ahead and just move forward with it. Now, it's finished as far as I'm concerned. The original goal of this, of course, was to learn how to take it apart and everything because, if you recall, I have two of these. This one, of course, is the 1900C, and this is a 1960 CT. This one has a 50 megahertz 46DX, whereas this one's a 25 megahertz 46SX. So this is the better of the two. So I figured, you know what? I would rather get that one working than this. If something goes wrong, I'd rather it go wrong with this one. So I wanted to take it apart, learn all of its little quirks and everything, find out anything that might be repaired other than the power supply, because it's kind of a well-known issue that you do have to recap the internal power supply on these series. But I also discovered other issues such as the internal floppy drive needs to be recapped and the belt needs to be replaced because these are belt driven. And even after doing that, I can't get it to work on here. The stepper motor doesn't seem to be in good shape. I don't know. It's the stepper motor that controls the worm gear, which drives the heads up and down. It'll read up the disc, but not go back. And I've tried everything that I know how to do, and I can't get it to work. So sadly, this one does not have a working floppy disk drive, though it does. The computer itself does detect floppy drives because I hooked this one up. Had to make a quote-unquote custom cable, about one of these ribbon cables here, where the connectors are on opposite ends of each other. And I also discovered that I had to poke two holes. It's going to be tough to see. But if you see those red marks, I poked holes in them. And that's how I was able to get the satellite to detect the floppy disk drive. So I tested that, and in fact, I threw a teaser on my Blue Sky account of it booting Mandrake Linux. So yeah, there's that. There's also the internal BIOS clock battery, as well as the save battery, which I did get replaced. In fact, I'll include some pictures that I took of that. And I do have one extra here and here for the 1960 CT because it's going to need those replaced as well. I'm really hoping that the floppy disk drive in here does work. I know I have to replace the belt because I could see inside the flap. It's just hanging there. Pretty sure I got to replace the capacitors, but hopefully the stepper motor works and I can get all that going. But I decided to finish the project on the 1900 because I'm just done with it. I'm not spending any more money on it. I'm not going to spend any more time on it. Put it together, and well, let's go ahead and power it on. Now, you're probably not even able to see what's on screen. In fact, you cannot. So let's do that there. Now, obviously, it's still pinkish purplish, and it still has that line down the middle. I opted not to do anything with the backlight, mainly because of the fact, like I said, I don't want to spend any more money on it. The whole goal of this was just to learn about it to work on the other one. As far as the line goes, if you remember from last time, I ordered a replacement display on AliExpress. I found it for a decent price. Fortunately, that line is on there. I contacted the seller. They were able to give me a partial refund, so all is good there. I really didn't want to have to ship it back and deal with all that mess, especially with the whole tariff thing going on. I don't know how that would impact it. So I said, you know what? We'll just do a refund or partial refund and just go from there. But yeah, it is a pinkish purplish screen. That is definitely the backlight. I looked at some options, including like an LED replacement option. And you can get the kits for like $15 a piece. But you didn't have to figure out how to splice it into the existing system. And I really didn't want to have to mess with that. Besides, I could always even just grab a generic LED strip that works off of 5 volts if I really wanted to and tap in. Somewhere there's going to be 5 volts in this system here. So in the future, I may revisit this. It's easier to take apart the display bezel than it is the entire system. So if I really need to go that route, I could. But for now, this is just going to have to be this way. So wonder if I can adjust. Let me see here. So it's got 8 megs of RAM in it. Did I install the add-on? I think I did, because I think stock it comes at 4, and then there's a 4 meg add-on card that goes right in here. Good enough. And it's running IBM PC DOS, but we already took a look at the hard drive when we had it hooked up to the external display, which is right behind it there. Ooh, that's right. I modified the AutoExec file, and I think I need to change it back. Give me a second. And Windows does run. Refresh rate is a little bit of a mismatch here. I wonder if I can adjust that. Let's wait till it boots into the desktop, and then we'll make an adjustment if we have to. Which we kind of do have to. Oh yeah, there's flickering. Let's see here. I don't know what refresh rate it's running at. That's a little better. I've got it set to 80. Not sure what the frequency actually is. Oh, that's right. There's no mouse either. But yeah, I mean, you see it's kind of yellowish on screen here and everything, and it's kind of like that in person too. I can mess with the contrast wheel. It looks a little bit better on camera. It's a little bit more faded in person. And one thing I haven't done, though, is just let this sit for like 5-10 minutes to see if the backlight, warms up or not. So maybe I can try that. So I'll do that, and we'll be back. Yeah, so it hasn't really improved much. I left it on for like 5 minutes, and I think this is as good as we're going to get. So, yeah, I know some of you might be disappointed I didn't go for a full-blown restoration, but again, the goal was always to just figure out how to take it apart so that I know what to do with the 1960, which is the one I really want to try and save. And of course, this will also become a spare parts unit in the event I need it for that one. For example, if I recap the power supply in that one and it still doesn't power on, this one is losing its power supply because it's going to go there. Same thing with the keyboard. Almost any of the components really, with the exception of the main board, although if I do have to settle for mirroring the two and getting a 25 megahertz 486 SX versus the 50 DX, but I get a working laptop with a even better display and everything, which I don't even know if works on the 1960, so there's another thing I had to worry about. But at least I have that as an option. That was always going to be the goal of this here. But it does come on. Yeah, this line is annoying. I tried to finagle it a little bit. I could not get anything to, actually budge or anything. I tried messing with the tray, so it didn't refill the solder, but I tried just poking on it with one of these little poker sticks here. And it didn't make any difference, really, so I didn't want to take a chance at maybe making it worse. So it is what it is. Again, this is the condition it would probably be if the old display was still in good shape anyway. So it was a project. It took way too long to finish. In fact, I forgot to put this cover back on over here, but that's fine. But it took way too long to finish. And the plastics on here are brittle. They're not as brittle as they are on some other machines of the era, but they are still kind of brittle on here. And despite the fact that this is held together with screws, there are also a bunch of clips right along the edge here and everything, and in the display bezel. And yeah, so I need to reclaim my desk space, basically, so I can work on some other projects and stuff like that. I want to get the 5150 back in here because I have a project that I want to work on for a future video for that. Plus, I have the IBM ThinkPad that came with this whole lot here that I've teased months ago and never, actually finished or anything. But I do have part 1 recorded, and I'm working on part 2, or at least I will be once this is cleared out of the way. We'll go from there. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I did think about grabbing this spare floppy drive and installing it. But the problem is that the way this cable is designed, I can't get the proper amount of bends in order to make sure that it fits. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to leave it as is. Like I said, I'm probably not going to use this one much. This is the lesser of the two, and this will probably ultimately be sacrificed for spare parts. So yeah, but if you guys have any tips or suggestions or anything like that that I can use to get the disk drive working, I believe they call it a Citizens drive mechanism or something like that, or it's a Citizen style drive mechanism. If you have any tips on the stepper motor that controls the worm gear and what I can do with that, maybe I'll take this back apart and at least get the floppy disk drive working. Like I said, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the display, and it's, screensaver is kicked in. Cool. I'm not going to worry about it otherwise. So unless you guys really think that I should try, but like I said, I wanted to get this done, clear up the desk space to work on some other stuff, start working on the 1960, and then go from there. And in the event that I don't need anything from here to use as spare parts for the other one, guess what? Maybe I'll come back and revisit this one. So let me know what you guys thought. I know, again, everyone's going to be a little disappointed I didn't properly, finish it, but it is working. It has a working display, even though the backlight isn't exactly great. And the floppy disk drive doesn't work. But like I said, I don't know how to fix that beyond replacing the belt and the caps. Everything else is going to be beyond my abilities at this time. So if you got any tips or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, thanks all. Catch you later.